Hey guys, welcome back to another video. If it's your first time here, welcome to the channel. The mechanical keyboard community has been growing pretty substantially over the course of the last year, and more people are beginning to take interest in the idea of building a mechanical keyboard, but many of those people don't know where to start, and the idea of soldering can seem pretty daunting to a beginner. So today I'll be building a custom hot swap keyboard and I'll walk you through the whole process. I originally wanted to make this video a long time ago, but KPrepublic took 2 months to deliver my order, which is why this video was delayed for so long. Before I start, I want to make it clear that this guide won't apply to every keyboard, but it will mostly focus on building a pre-assembled budget keyboard kit, such as the KB67 Lite, any GK keyboard kit, Icky68. As long as it's under or around $200, this guide will generalize the process and make it easier to understand. Once you go beyond that price point, each keyboard may vary in how it is made, such as different mounting styles, disassembled keyboard components, things like that. This video is not for those types of keyboards. If you're interested in learning about the various components of a keyboard and the roles they play in determining the feel and sound of a keyboard, I highly suggest watching Taeha Type's Anatomy of a Custom Mechanical Keyboard, linked in the description. Watch that video first, then come back to this one, so you can better understand what I'm talking about. For this build, I'm using the YC66 from KPrepublic. This is a 65% keyboard with the case, plate, PCB, stabilizers, and cable are all included. This is generally referred to as a keyboard kit, with the only things required to finish the build being switches and keycaps. The YC66 costs around $62, with a $10 add-on cost if you want to order Gateron switches with your order. My order came with Gateron Reds, which are a light linear switch that is a smoother version of the common Cherry MX Reds. As for the keycaps, I'll be using these white and purple DSA keycaps I got from AliExpress. My YC66 came with 2 switches pre-installed. These aren't Gateron switches, I'm not really sure what these are, but they're only there to keep the PCB in place. The YC66 comes with a hot swap PCB, which means that you don't need to solder anything, and all you have to do is insert the switches into the PCB and you'll be good to go. These hot swap kits are generally recommended for beginners. All you have to do is align the copper pins of the switch with the holes in the PCB and push the switch in until you hear a click. This keyboard is south facing, which means that the switches essentially have to be rotated 180 degrees. This is because of switch interference, and I'll leave a link to Wildcat's video on switch interference if you're interested in learning about that. Do this for every single switch, then put on the keycaps. This keyboard comes in a non-standard layout, which means that some of the keycap sizes will be different to a standard layout, and for the YC66, the right shift, Windows key, and function key are all a non-standard size. This is what a standard ANSI layout looks like. Since my keycaps don't come with any specialty keycaps to fit my board, I'll be substituting them with some other keycaps. And just like that, I've built my own keyboard. Here's how it sounds. Now, this keyboard sounds pretty decent out of the box, but the stabilizers are pretty rattly and the switches can use some lube. So for those who want to try to get as much of the keyboard experience as possible, I'll walk you through how to improve the acoustics and feel of a keyboard. In order to try and make this keyboard as good as possible, I'll be using Alpaca V2s that I got from Daily Clack, Durock plate mount stabilizers, and Ducky cotton candy SA keycaps, which I've done a full review on. The stabilizers that came with the YC66 aren't great, and modding them probably won't help much, which is why I picked up these Durock plate mount stabilizers that I did the Holee mod on and looped with Crytox 205G0. After installing the new stabilizers and trying to test them out, I noticed that except for the spacebar, all of the stabilizers were stuck and they wouldn't move. so I had to take the stabilizers out and remove all of the band-aid strips that I put into the stems. I did this by using tweezers to force the band-aid off of one side of the stem, and using that as a leverage, I ripped the rest of the band-aid off. This took about 10 minutes, and once my fingers were thoroughly covered in the Crytox, I re-lubed all the stabilizers and reinstalled them. I think that the Holee mod failed because of one of two reasons. Either the bandages I used were too thick, or the Durock stabilizers were already so tightly fit that the Holee mod wouldn't work. I've done the Holee mod before on a different set of stabilizers with the same bandage strips, so I'm leaning more towards the second reason. I'll still leave a link to a tutorial on the Holee mod if you want to try it out. Once the stabilizers are done, I'll move on to the switches. I'll be replacing the Gateron Reds with some stock Alpaca V2s. I know that the Alpaca V2s are definitely a stretch for a budget build, but I want to try them out. I'll be making a full review in the future on these switches, so be sure to get subscribed so you don't miss out on that review. I'll place the switches on this board and I'll put the keycaps on. Here's how it sounds now compared to the first iteration of this build. Honestly, I'm pretty impressed on how this board came out, and I'll definitely be using this in the future. The Alpaca V2s are definitely the smoothest stock switches I've tried, and help to elevate the sound profile of the board. The board itself is really good too, with the main selling point of the keyboard being its super bright RGB. If the YC66 seems familiar, it's because of the high profile version of the Womier or Gamma K66, with an extra layer of acrylic on top, which is why it's a high profile version. I have some issues about the PCB, since if there aren't any switches inserted in, it moves around the case, but as mentioned before, KPrepublic inserts two random switches to hold the PCB in place, so I'm willing to look past that. The stacked acrylic is also pretty nice even with the RGB turned off, but the finish could be better with some of the layers being uneven on certain parts of the build. This keyboard uses USB-C and is flush mounted, which means that the connector will be slightly exposed once plugged in. There is some creaking on the keyboard if you press really hard, but that's just due to the nature of the acrylic case. This keyboard doesn't come with any software, but there's a Discord server that has people that will walk you through how to flash your keyboard using QMK, but I won't be doing that since I'm fine with the current layout and there is a risk of bricking your keyboard. Overall, for the price, this is a pretty good starting kit, and if you took the time to tune the stabilizers, I'm sure they'll turn out fine. I was just too lazy to try and tune them. For just $62, the YC66 is an amazing beginner kit, and I highly recommend it if you're willing to wait for a long time. It gives great RGB inside a really nice looking frosted case, and if you ordered switches with your kit and took the time to lube them, then you'll get great results. I hope this tutorial was useful, and I'll leave links to everything in the description below if you want to check it out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.